Well, hello everyone. It's Jeff from Mid-Atlantic Craps and Ed from Roll to Win. We're on both channels, so no matter where you're watching, just give us the thumbs up. Welcome to tonight's show. This is episode 3 of the Unraveling of the Dice Influence. And with us tonight again is, of course, Gargoyle. That's G. Ed, good evening. How are you doing? Oops. Let's try it again, Ed. I turned your mic the wrong way.
I am doing super fragilistic fantastic.
Well, you left out a couple syllables there, but that's good to know. G, how are you doing tonight?
Expialidocious.
I am doing expialidociously great.
Expedilious. We got it. We got
There
new
you have it.
taglines all over. We got new taglines everywhere now.
Yes, we
Everywhere.
do. Well, we've got a lot of people that's tuned in already. Over on my side on Mid-Atlantic Craps, I'd like to say hello, if I could get the thing to work here, to Brian P. and Roger, Lou, Ron, Louise. Let's see, Clay just joined us. Clay, how are you doing, my friend? Charles, Frank, Victor. Hey, Victor, how are you doing, my friend? And we got Troy over on my side. And, we also got on your side, we got a lot of people over there, Ed, as normal. Brian's on that side. H2O guy waiting in Ohio for some awesome stuff. And Bud says, let's begin to learn. Got Cadillac Jack, as always, with you on your side, Ed. Roger was over there. Let's see. We got Phil Case. Phil was talking about when he met us down in Biloxi. Lou went over on that side and said hello. Let's see. You got Mark Mad Hatter. You got Troy Rogers over on your side as well. And the Iceman's just joined us, along with Stent Placer, Puckoff, Richard, and let's see. Did somebody else come in here? Mike Malone. So looks like we got about right off the bat, the first couple of minutes, we've got about 40. Let's take a look here. Almost 55 people watching between the two channels. So let's talk about it. Episode 1 and 2 is in the books.
Yep.
Yeah. First two are in the books. We're getting ready for the third one tonight. We're going to be dropping some new taglines on you folks tonight. The first one is drink like you play like you drink.
Now, we just came up with that in the green room just a few
I know,
minutes ago.
but I like it. I'm going to change mine. I'm changing my whole tagline right now. Thank you, Gargoyle, for coming up with that.
No, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. Here to help.
You know, it is
Yep.
a bad day. I noticed somebody, Stent Placer, just put in there, rest in peace to Toby Keith, man.
Yep.
I enjoyed Toby. I enjoyed his showmanship. I enjoyed his songs. I enjoyed his patriotism. And
Yes,
I was really heartbroken when I think Gargoyle told me first thing this morning was first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan, and I mean, as soon as I saw it this morning, I had to go look. I thought that was somebody playing a trick on me or something.
I knew that he had the stomach cancer, but I didn't know to what stage or where he was. But it was sad news for those of you, and especially if you love this country. There's one gentleman that certainly loved it, sang about it, and showed it, and supported the troops like you would not believe.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a great gentleman, great man.
Yep.
He will be missed and not replaced.
Yes. That's correct. Yep. All right, so we're into episode 3 tonight. I think it's as we went into the green room, we may have a little bit of a disagreement or a difference of opinion between Ed and G on tonight's topic, which is mindfulness. And G, we're going through the 4 M's. Let's go ahead and start out with you, and we'll see where you take us tonight.
Yeah. It's good to be back. I went off grid last week for 4 days, just Halo marathon, and came back and found out that you guys went on Crapsy, and the more Ed drank, and the more his rolls got better. So now I know what to do in Biloxi. If he starts getting the table cold, I just need to pour some alcohol in him. He'll probably fire right up, like an old carburetor when you put additive fuel in it. So yeah, that's another tagline for you. No, so we talked a little bit about mindset. We talked about mechanics, and we're going to talk about mindfulness and awareness. As always, take this to heart. I give you my opinions of what I do, and it doesn't mean that if you're not doing this, you're doing anything wrong or you're doing anything right. It's just things that I've learned over time, and some may say that, oh, those are superstitious things, you don't know what you're talking about, and that's fine. But if you pick up one or two things, it may help you. That's awesome. The show is worth it. Um, but what I want to talk about is, we talked about what I do to prepare for a trip, talked about the practice and mechanics, but what do I do when I get to Vegas or when I go to Biloxi for a 3 4 day trip? Um, there's a routine that I go through. I tried to show that routine one time to someone, but they didn't want anything to do with it. But I'll talk about it, and hopefully we'll answer your questions, and we'll go from there. So usually when I get into town, I like to get in sometime during the day. If I'm flying out to Vegas for a 3 4 day trip, I don't like to get in early in the morning or late in the evening because I want to allow myself to do some things. What I do is I get into town and for example, in Vegas, I don't play with my real betting money. I may take my fun money with me to try out some things, but my real money stays in the safe in the room. Um, I walk up and down the strip, and I go into some of the familiar casinos that I like to play and see what's changed. I go in and I start looking at the tables, and if there are people playing, I stand and watch. If somebody's setting the dice, I try and look and see how the dice is bouncing at the tail end. Um, Mindfulness and awareness is all about picking up things that so that you can either use them to your advantage or use them to make a decision. If if I walk, for example, to the Mirage, and there are a few people playing, and I hear the dice cracking on the table, I can tell just by listening to it that it's probably a hard table. I'll just walk up and see if somebody's just rolling the dice or shaking the dice and throwing it. I can't get any information, but if somebody is actually picking up the dice, setting it and throwing it and doing a par shot or whatever, I'll stand and watch. I may even buy in for $100 if my shooting position is open, like SR1 or SL1, and I'll start with the hardware set. I always start with the hardware set because that's the best set that gives me information on, if I decide to come in and play this table in the morning, which set do I correctly go to? Or do I need to change my toss? And I may, toss a few and see if it's something that I want to do in the morning with my real money, or pass and go, check out another table. Um, Walking through the casinos also, we talked about, putting the leveler on, that little leveler to see if the table is level. Um, Look at the layout. So let me go to this screen right here. Um, Hopefully the camera is not frozen and you guys can
Nope,
see.
you're good.
You're
You're
good.
good.
Okay. Look at the layout. If here's a craps felt layout that I want to show you, um, and you can tell probably by looking at it. Jeff, you may have to zoom in a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it or not,
Hey, give me 1 second. I can do that. Just gotta switch screens.
but it's got bruises on it. All these bruises
Slide it
right
to your right a
here.
little bit, G. Move it a little bit to the right. There you go. And there. It's more. Yeah, it's more prevalent now.
Okay, so you can see all these white dots. This is where the dice, sharp dice, hit it many a times. And because it had a hard surface underneath it, this is a felt layout with no backing. There's no padding back here. It's just a felt and um, a protector. That's it. There's no padding to protect the layout. So with a hard table and this on it, when the dice hits it, it leaves white mark, especially with the sharp dice. I can just look in the casino and see bruises like this. I can tell it's a hard table just by looking at the layout because you can tell. Um, if it's a layout just like this regular, I'll put my hand just to see if it moves. If there's any give to it, it means that it's not stretched. I've said this before. The more you stretch a layout, the bouncier it can get. Doesn't matter if it's microfiber or felt. Um, the more you stretch it, the bouncier it is. So if it's not stretched, that means that it may be a little bit less bouncy. Touch it, feel it, tap on it, see if there's an echo or if it's a thud or a crack when you hit your table, when you hit the table with your hand. You can tell a lot about what the table is just by looking at these things. Um, Look at the back right here. Are there any flaws in the backboard? I remember one time at the Cromwell, um, they had one that had like blisters or bubbles in it, and the whole thing was wavy. You'd never want to play something like that unless you can figure out how to hit the dice in a certain area and play it to your advantage. And the casino wouldn't change it because they knew that's just adds randomness. Um, what are some of the things that I look at when I'm walking around the casino? Um, I may also I may also look at how the money is stacked, especially first thing in the morning. Like if I decide that, hey, this table at the Flamingo, for example, I want to go play it, and I come in the morning and the table is missing a lot of money, a lot of chips. That's an indication that it's been paying out all night. Um, I may play that table, but I also know that it's something that the casinos do as a cooling routine. As soon as you get hot, in come the chips. They want to replenish the tray, replenish. So they stop your roll to replenish and then they continue. So they use that sometimes. So I have to think twice. Do I want to do that or do I want to just pass? If a table has a lot of chips, I mean, it's overflowing. That means it's been taking money, taking money, taking money. Again, that's just my opinion. That those are not facts. That's just my opinion. Um, I may pass on that table. Uh, let's see. The other thing I look at when I'm walking around is um, how many tables do they have open? If they're running multiple tables, that means that in the morning they're going to probably have one or two tables open. Very like in the morning, like 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, or maybe one. So the night crew is probably going to be wore out, ready for the next shift because they've been running multiple tables. But if they're running like one or two tables, and God Complex can probably talk about this a lot more because he knows about shifts and routines. If they're running one or two table, they 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 rotate them out quicker, so the crew may be fresh, not tired, from a long night. Um, you don't want a grumpy, grouchy crew when you come in and play. That's just my opinion. You want them kind of like attentive, fresh. They don't make mistakes and stuff like that. Um, Another thing I look for is the placement of where the table is. If it's next to a a bar or if it's next to a walking area, um, it's like they know, casinos know. As soon as I get up in the morning sometimes and I start playing and I get on a hot roll, here comes the lady with the vacuum cleaner wanting to vacuum. It's got the whole casino. The entire floor is open. There's nobody playing. Maybe one drunk person sleeping at the blackjack table. Some baccarat player is losing money. The rest of the casino is wide open, and here comes the lady vacuuming right there where I'm standing. It never. I mean, it's so you gotta figure out. Okay, have they did they finish vacuuming, or are they doing that on purpose? You gotta notice these things. You gotta see how the pit crew react to somebody coming in the morning and buying in for $5,000 and putting 640 across. You see the boxman go on the phone directly and stuff like that. That means that something's coming. They're either bringing money, they're bringing a waitress, cocktail waitress, something. If they all just stand there going like this, you're good. You gotta be able to read the surrounding, read the whole room. That's completely different than group play or just coming in and just buying in and playing. And depending on the person, some people just don't care. They walk up, they buy in and start rolling the dice. It doesn't matter what time of day or or when where they are at what casino. Um, Me personally, I'm always aware. Um, I try not to buy in, play big at the off-strip casinos because they tend to worry about money a lot more than strip casinos. Um, it's just facts. In my opinion, that's what I've observed. Um, let's see, what
Hold on one
else?
second there, G. Ed, did you have a question? I know you raised your hand a minute ago.
No, he was talking about a drunk guy laying over on the blackjack table. I just
All
raised
right.
my hand.
Let's since he's already talked about, let's hit this question up by Cadillac Jack. G, when you started talking to your first part of your mindfulness, and that's tonight's topic, you talked about the level, and Cadillac Jack said, "Have you found many tables that are not level?" Get that question out of the way.
Oh yeah, oh
None.
yeah, you'd be surprised. The one that Heavy and I played at Harris, um, there was one table in Vegas. It was not Ellis Island, one before, where the table was the leg landed on top of the power strip outlet that's in the floor, and it wasn't completely shut, so that end was a little bit raised, and I saw it walking up to it. I was looking down. That's another thing I do. I always look around the table. I always look down. I'm looking to see if there's a penny on the floor, if there was a DI at that table and they marked the spot. Um, because most of the DIs, that tip came from Heavy. So, but I could tell that the table one leg was up because it was sitting on the strip, and I walked up, and I went like this to kind of feel the table. I had the leveler like right here, and I put it, and then it went like this. And I'm like, I'll pass. Um, you'd be surprised. Now the rails is also a good telltale because the rails sit on the top of the table. So if you don't want to lean over and put it on the table, you can kind of put it on the rail, and it gives you a good indication also. So yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them. You'd be surprised. Sometimes they do it on
There's
purpose.
a lot of them are not level. I remember the Harrah's crapless table there on the strip. It was one of the most unlevel tables I'd ever seen. You could just, yeah, you didn't even need a level. You just needed two eyeballs and a level head, which I don't have. But you could just tell it wasn't level. It was way, it was, what's the word, Jeff? Cattywampus. It was all
Cattywampus.
Cattywampus.
cattywampus on the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But you'll see,
um,
I doubt very many of them are really level. I mean, my God, you got people leaning on them, laying on them all day, all night. I mean, there are probably not many that are really very level these days. I'd be surprised.
You mentioned Harris. Some of you that know the strip very well, walking out from the link, going around that little circle, and then going straight into Harris.
Right.
You walk down to go into Harris, right? It's a little slope, and you may not notice it, but it continues into the casino for a little bit. It's you gotta look for it. Sometimes you can't see it, but right there where the Starbucks is, and there's a piano to play little bar, but right there's a craps table that sits right in front of you as you walk from the link to Harris. It's sitting on an angle. It's sloped a little bit because the whole floor, the entire ground slopes. Um,
Are you talking about the area before you get to like the main pit area where the roll to wins in front of the crapless and the other table? Is that what you're talking? You're talking about that very first set of table games you come to?
well, it's been a few years since I've been to Vegas, but if you're walking out of the link and then going
Right, straight in
towards
that side
Harris and you
entrance.
walk
Right.
into Harris, it's that area right there. There used to
Yeah.
be a craps table, a real craps table,
Yeah,
and
they
it
moved
used
it
to
on the
be
opposite end. Yeah, they've got that
yeah.
moved on the
Yeah, it's
opposite
in
end of that
between.
table games.
Last time I was there, they moved that table to basically the entrance coming out of Flamingo and in, and it was a crapless table, and it was a leaner. I mean, it was the cattywampus I was describing. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't, I didn't want that. It was just
Um,
too crooked.
sometimes they, the whole I call it the tub, but the entire rail is one piece that they take up to change the layout, and sometimes they put another layout, and in the corners they may not put it right. They may just overlay it and stuff like that, and it creates a thick crease, and then they put this on top of it, and if somebody leans down on it really hard, you can tell it lifts some of the other side. To me, that's important because I lean a lot. You'll see me, because I have to get on my tiptoes, and I have to steady myself with either my right hand or left hand, depending on, which one I'm shooting. So, I lean a lot on the table, and I've had it in where I would go like this, and all of a sudden, it pops from over there, and the dealer's like, "Whoa!" And I'm going like, "Dude, I don't know what's wrong with your railing. It's not sturdy." And I wouldn't play that table. I just color up and leave because it's gonna,
I think
I may
God
go like
complex.
this.
Yep, he's here with us tonight. Stop you right there real quick. Bob from Craps for Life wants to know what the penny trick is. You mentioned penny trick.
Oh, yeah, I've talked about it in other shows, but
Right.
um, when I'm if when I find a spot that I want to shoot from, and I go through a certain routine. Most DIs, most shooters go through a. Sorry, I'm making noise here with my chair. I can't have a chair behind me. I need to stand up. Go through a certain routine and then put their foot in one place before they shoot. Um, if there's no pattern in the carpet that I can put my foot in the same place every single time when I stand, I put a penny on the floor and I step on the penny. And so a lot of times, if I walk up, I see a penny. That's somebody that was shooting, and a lot of times I would just leave that penny and try it out and see if it's someplace, if it's going to be for me too, where the other person is shooting. It's just something to mark on the floor where your foot's going to be. In my case, where my foot's going to be when I go like this. So if I'm shooting this way, it's actually my left foot. If I'm shooting that way, it's my right foot. But right, left, yes, that's right. I said it right. So if I'm shooting this way, it's going to be lifting up on my left foot, and my right foot is tripping the waitresses and anybody else that walks behind me. And I really mean tripping the waitress because I've tripped several waitresses by going like this. All of a sudden, I hear, "Whoa, are you okay?" And I look down, and there's drinks all over the place. It's like, lady, I'm sorry. What can I tell you? My foot has a mind of its own sometimes. Um, But yeah, that's the penny trick.
All right. Go ahead and announce now, guys, if you're going to ask a question, because we're going to move through this episode pretty fast. Gargoyle is going over the mindfulness of playing and preparation for him to shoot the dice. Please premise it with a capital Q and a colon or semicolon. It'll change the colors on my software, and I can see that. Craps for Life says thanks for that. He thought it was a great idea. I do have a couple questions that I have queued up. Greg, we're going to come back to
Go
yours
ahead.
towards the end of the show.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. We'll while they're fresh, we'll answer them, and then I can continue.
Let's see here. Let me go back up here. So Greg asks, do you always turn your bets off at every stick change? I usually don't, simply because if I'm in the zone, I want to stay in the zone.
No, I don't turn my bets off during a stick change. What I will do is I will throw a $5 down to the new stick and say, get try to get him in the game and say, hey, bet it any way you want. Um, that way he'll pay attention to what's going on and try and get him in the game. I'll turn my bets off for two rolls if I hit one side of the ATS or somebody hits one side of the ATS, or if I see another tattletale like a lost number or something, stuff that John doesn't believe in.
Okay. All right. That was the only question that's currently there. That's why I said if somebody wanted to ask a question, we're dual streaming
Oh,
on
okay.
Mid Atlantic Craps and over on Roll to Win Craps. So just make sure you put a capital Q or put Jeff or Ed or something that's going to draw my attention in capital letters.
Yeah.
I'm getting to
So
be
so
really,
so
really
I'll continue, and you can just stop me when questions start popping
All
up.
right. Well,
Um,
hold that thought. Hold that thought right there. Ed, you said something. I'm sorry.
I said, oh, I'm getting to be really, really quiet tonight. It's kind of nice.
Okay, go ahead, G.
I'm not running the controls. I'm not doing any of that. Gargoyle's doing all the lectures. I'm just like the student in the front row.
that's
Wow.
okay. I
On the
get
back.
paid. I get paid to talk. You get paid to be quiet. Um,
What do I get paid to do then? I don't remember any pay on this show.
checks in the mail.
Yeah. I'll
um,
be looking for it.
yeah. So this is what I do, and I pretty much track at least three tables. I like to play three sessions, preferably on one table. But just in case, I just can't get anything going on one table, I'll go to another table. So I like to have at least two, or minimum of three as backups. Um, the next day when I get on the table, again, I'm looking to come in, concentrate on what I'm trying to do, four hits, regress down, make my bank, and then leave. Um, it's for my real money, real play. This is where it's all about. So very low distractions. I'm wide awake. I don't have a lot of liquids in me, coffee or anything, because I don't want to have to run to the bathroom in the middle of the roll. Um, I usually go to bed early, make sure I can wake up early and be pretty much wide awake when I go to the table. When I get to the table, it's always when I it's been a while since I've been to Vegas, but most of the dealers would know me from the day shift, or some of them would, and they'll immediately acknowledge. If nobody knows me, then that's great. I try to get in on stick left and stick right, but I shoot left-handed from stick left, right-handed from stick right, because I don't want to crowd the dealer. Um, I try not to give the table um, reasons to say anything or complain. Whether it's my hand, they may not say anything, but I make sure my hand doesn't cross the middle. I make sure the dice hits the back wall. Um, stuff that's routine, that it's common sense stuff to me. That you just don't give them any reason to say, hey, don't set the dice, or you can't do this. Just stuff like that. Always get the dealers in on the ATS. Always get them in on the table for tips, but I don't give him money to put on the line because it's just complicates and slows the game. I put them with me on the pass line, and then depending on if I go 640 across and I get my 4 hits and I regress and I start either getting same bet or press. If I get $5, for example, if I go $30 six and it hits, it pays 35. I go to 60. I say keep the change, keep the $5. I keep tipping them as I go because that way they'll know and they're engaged. I look around and I make sure if the dealers are in a bad mood or they're arguing about I didn't get no vacation time or this and that, and there's cross talk and stuff like that. That's sometimes distracting
Yeah.
to a shoot, especially if there's like cross talk here or cross talk, like right there. I try and get them in the game. If it's a fun crew, I'll even get the pit boss in the game. I've been known to tell the pit boss, "Hey, I'm going to put you on the ATS next to me, or I'm going to put you on the hard way, and that money is yours. That's for the pit crew. Not for the dealers, but for the pit crew." So I've had some that they had to call and make sure it's okay, but for the most part, God Complex here can chime in. Most part, they'll be like, yeah, sure, and all of a sudden they'll stand up and they start getting engaged in the game. You get dealers and stuff engaged in the game, um, all of a sudden the mood is positive, it's fun, and you're just having fun. If everybody's like this and oh man, I can't wait to just leave, I gotta go and stuff like that, you're already got so many things against you, and now you gotta roll the dice and try and make money. So you, I tend to watch the dealers, the crew, of what they're doing at the table and how they're reacting. Um, i've had i've had a stick man in Paris that literally he would go like this and stand like that. I mean, take the width. Oh, I need to go this way. Take the width of the area, and my hand is like right here, right next to his hand, and he'll immediately say, "Hey, why don't you move over like a couple?" And I'm like, "No, I want to shoot from here," and he'll just put his hand like this. It doesn't matter whether I'm betting for the dealers or not. I actually wrote him up. I wrote a complaint to the pit supervisor because he every time I put my hand, he will push my hand away. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or not. Uh, Paris in Las Vegas went through phases. Sometimes it was good, and then a lot of times it was really bad to go in and play. It just as soon as you start setting the dice, they will. It's like it's incest. You don't do that. You're gonna get filleted and tarred and feathered out of here. But I like their
Yeah,
tables.
I've never had a problem at Paris myself.
I haven't either.
When I've gone, uh, I've had problem at Bally's, the old Bally's, but in fact, I was
Yep.
told I couldn't set the dice anymore in the middle of the hand at Bally's. But at Paris, I've never had an issue anymore. I don't. I think, but again, they do go through phases because I can remember way back when they did have more heat optimal type of crew. Um, I've
They
had,
go.
you talk about writing a letter. You talk about reporting somebody. I was at Bellagio one morning. We had a pit boss there, and he had a relatively new crew. You could just tell they were relatively new, but it was 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, Ed, you're muffled. We can hardly
He
hear you.
did.
Yeah, Ed, move a
I'm
little
sorry,
closer.
I'm too far
Yeah,
away.
there you go.
He
Yeah,
did.
there you go.
He did a magnificent job. That particular pit boss did a magnificent job of keeping the game moving, keeping those relatively new dealers on their toes, and just kind of keeping it moving. And not only was I impressed with him and the way he handled that new crew, the couple of guys I was playing with were impressed. I actually set when I got home. I did not send an email. I sat down and I wrote a handwritten letter to the supervisor of the table games at the Bellagio just to compliment that person on that particular morning. I gave him the morning I was there. I gave him which table I was on, everything. And I wrote a nice letter. I didn't ask for anything in return, didn't expect anything in return, but I wanted them to know that they had a quality person representing their casino, and it was appreciated not only by myself but other people at the table. And you can do nice things like that. That's not a tip. That's not a cash tip. But more than likely, if anybody's worth their salt, they read that and maybe even gave that guy a copy of it. I don't know. I don't know. God
Yeah,
Complex might comment on that. But I don't. I wanted to let somebody know how much I appreciated the way he worked that new crew and kept the game moving and was cordial to us at the table at the same time. And we had a great time. It was a great experience.
yeah. I mean, my overall my experience have been if you get the dealers in and stuff like that, you get a good experience at the table. Every
Keeps the
now and
table
then,
positive too. Keeps the table very
yes, keeps
positive.
the table positive. Every now and then, you get someone that just in a bad mood. And the last thing I'm going to say from my morning play is that as soon as somebody walks up to at the end of the table or where I'm trying to shoot and buys in the middle of the roll or something like that, that's when I usually turn my bets off and color up because um, that person is not coming over here to play. That person, in my mind, is a cooler, especially if they come in and put their money on the don't. Um, I'll just finish what I'm doing, color up, and I pass the dice. And sometimes I'll say, "Hey, you were in such a hurry to come in and play. Here, roll the dice." And they say, "Well, I don't want to roll the dice." I tell them the $10 here is for the next shooter. If you get it, you get it. Even if I had money on the ATS, I've done it when I had $100 each on the ATS, and I would tell the pit boss, if the next guy comes in and hits it, give it to the dealers.
All right.
Um,
Well, staying with the topic of mindfulness, we've got several questions that come in that we're going to get to here in a little bit because we've skipped around. Some of them aren't related to mindfulness that we'll get towards the end of the show. So, you guys that are asking questions, we are going to get to them whether you're over on Mid Atlantic Craps watching or over on Roll to Win. Right now, we have 103 combined people watching currently at this moment. So, if you have a question, capital Q like Shooter
Thank y'all
Craps
for
and Dan
joining
have
us.
done. So, we'll get to the questions. Anything else on the mindfulness? I know you were talking about when you come up in the morning. We're trying to cover the four M's throughout the first couple of episodes. Is there any more on the mindfulness?
um, Pretty much later in the day or in the evening, if I'm playing with a group or if I go and play with just with fun money, I tend to be aware of again my surroundings. If I'm playing with a couple of friends and they all like to shoot from stick left one or stick right one, I go by heavy calls it getting skinny. You know, you can have two people stand here and this person after they roll they can make the bet and step away and so that the other person can come up a little bit and shoot so you can get skinny for your buddy, right? um, if there's somebody on the other side, they can they can help you. Now, let me go over there. They can help you by where they put their chips. You know, don't put their chips in the next to the landing zone. Um, I have a couple of people that I play with, and sometimes if my landing zone or if they notice something that's happening where I'm landing the dice, they may go like this, kind of wave at me so that they can get my attention. And as soon as I look, they'll go like this, or they go like that, which means this is where I need to land the dice because they know what my throw is doing. So so you can have spotters if you're working at playing with a bunch of friends. Um, have them learn what what they do and learn what they do, and be mindful of what's going on at the table and how they're throwing. And if you can see something, like if they're throwing the dice here and it's affecting it a certain way, and one time they threw it here and it landed just like that, and they got a good number, you could go like this and then go like that, meaning hit the number here. um, some of these things that keep the chips away. If you're not shooting, if they're shooting, you don't have to have past line bets. Some casinos may make you put a past line bet to play the ATS. Just move it to the side.
All right. Well,
And
we're
and real quick, be aware of, like, if there are other shooters at the table that you don't know. Just because they're not setting the dice, or something, that doesn't mean that they're bad shooters. You don't start playing the don't on them. Somebody asked me a question I don't know if it was a comment or a question, but they said, hey, I don't set the dice, but I pick them up and throw them in the same way every time. I practice doing that. Is that some kind of a DI? And my answer was yes. It's called rhythm rolling. You're trying to influence the dice to do something. So maybe that's what they're doing. And so that person, I'll bet with on the line, because they're doing something the same way every time. Um, if I see somebody setting the sevens and trying to throw them a certain way, that's somebody that's trying to throw them off axis. They're not just picking up and throwing them hard against the back wall, but like Alfredo does for the TST, for example, or what Howard used to do with all his off axis tosses. To me, that's a DI. That's somebody that's trying to influence the dice to go and break in a certain way or do something. That is dice influencing. So I usually go on the line, betting with them. Um, be aware of what numbers are hitting. Bet what the table is giving you. That's Heavy's tagline. Bet what the table is giving you. Um, some people may call it superstitious. Other people may call it old wives' tales. But I watch for ladders, numbers. I may turn my bet off if I see a ladder up or a ladder down. Um,
why is
but
that?
just
Why do you turn a bet off when you see a ladder up or down?
if a shooter hits a 10, a 9, and an 8,
Oh,
I
okay,
see a
I got
ladder
you.
down. The
No, I see
next
it.
number
Yep,
should be a 7.
yep.
So I turn it off. If I see an 8, 9, and 10, I may drop a quarter each on the yo and the ace deuce.
Gotcha.
Um, you know, it,
All right.
it's
Uh, Go ahead. I want to put a
no,
comment up here. I want to put a comment up
it's
here. The God
information.
Complex made.
Yeah, no, it's information that's available to me, and I can act accordingly.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but I act accordingly, and I've done it while we were playing Crapsy, and I do it at the casino. I unlike the person sitting down saying nothing. I tend to, when we do Crapsy, I tend to bet, and the way I do in the casino, because I want to practice. And yes, you will see me put a black chip sometimes on an aces or something like that, if I have information to go after. Now, does it mean that somebody's going to roll it too? I don't know. Maybe not. But it's information for me to use however I want. But that's part of being mindfulness on the table, to see what's going on. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go like this, to my friend, when, as far as, go like that, turning, because he's just yakking and not paying attention to what's going on. A lot of money on the table, and I'm like, okay, you need to turn your bets off. And I'm just going to say one thing about that. If you turn your bets off, somebody may roll a number and you don't get paid. I don't know. Let's say you have a $60 on the six. Okay, so you don't take a 70. But if you don't turn your bets off and the bad number rolls, you may lose $240. I'd rather miss out on a 70 payout than to lose $240. But that's just me. All right.
All right, real quick, I want to put this up here. God Complex makes a very good comment, and it's going to drop, so I'm going to have to put it back up there. He says, etiquette of making normal bets keeps the game moving, good for dealers and good for the players. I know the payouts, but the dealers deal with constant numbers. When they get a strange one, their mind wanders. And I actually had a $404 six out one time and got paid wrong. They overpaid me. So I think, from a pit pulse who's dealt the game for a number of years and has worked in the pit, he knows that. But etiquette is very important, and we all have to tolerate newcomers to the table, and we should take the time between rolls, not while rolls going on, to try to correct somebody that may be new to the game and doesn't understand about late bets and the talking and so forth and so on. But I wanted to put that up there. I'm gonna put it up there one more
Yeah.
time just in case
No,
somebody
no,
didn't
no.
catch
Yeah,
that.
he's right. He's right. So when people make bets, the dealers have to divide by the payout. Like 5 and 9 pays 7. 7 4 5. If you make a $50 bet, they already know what the payout is because 7 out of 50 is 70. But if you put a $29 on a five, they go they're gonna start. They have to start thinking about what that payout is and stuff like that. It throws off everything. They may stop the game and say, "Sir, you need to add $1 or take $4 or something like that." It slows down the game. So that's not good. Always make sure you're betting amounts that the dealer would understand. Um, if you may know what the bet is and the payout, but the dealers may not. So either you educate them when you first make the bet and say, "I'm gonna put this. That way, when it hits, you pay me this, and then now everybody's okay. We go." Or bet like a normal person. Um, as far as stopping, between rolls, trying to tell somebody what they're doing, I won't do that. I control what I can control, and everything else I can't control. But I'm not going to make an educational session out of out of the play. I tried a long time ago, and I've literally had somebody tell me, "You mind your own business and play like you want to play, and I'll mind my own business, play like I want to play." There are some rude people out there. There are some rude people out there that think they know more about this game than you do. And as soon as they see you set the dice, they get more pissed off because they think that you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. You've been wasting money and time practicing while they're doing this and rolling the dice, and they're more efficient at it. I've
All
seen
right,
all kinds of. God Complex can probably tell you. I've
all right.
seen all kinds of sizes and colors. So I learned
Let's
my lesson a long time ago. People are doing wrong. Guess what? Let the dealers teach them how to bet. It's not my job. If somebody says, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing," I'll tell them, "You know what? I don't either, but these guys do. Why don't you talk to them? Leave me alone."
all
Come on,
right.
Phil.
Let's
You're in Biloxi right now, dude. You got it. You know
yeah.
that. You know how to do that 5 and 9 in Mississippi. It's an automatic buy, dude. Bet an even number.
Hey,
Even if you're betting 20,
you'd be
20 pays
surprised.
29. You can say same bet. You can say same bet on that five. When you hit that five and you got $20 on it, it's an automatic buy. You can say same bet. They're going to give you and drop $1, and they're going to give you $30. Well, guess what you just did? You paid for your five and basically half of your nine right there. Or you can be like me and be a totally degenerate and say, take me to 36. Then you get a little bit of money back, and then you go that 36 hits, it pays 52. You just say, just don't worry about what it pays. Just say, take me to 80. When it gets to 80 and you hit that sucker again, it pays 116, and you say same bet. When you're sitting at 80, you say same bet. You hit that thing again, you drop $4 and you say take me to 200. That's what you do on that 5 and 9. But I
Yeah,
know the 5 and 9.
that's why he's gonna do the session for betting and money management. No, I mean I've
No,
had
but
I've
you were
had
talking a
people.
moment ago. You were
Go
talking a
ahead.
moment ago about weird bets and dealers telling you this. A lot of the stuff, it depends on where you're playing. But I have learned that regionally there are certain bets. Okay, obviously there are certain bets in Mississippi because of the auto buys and the 5 and 9. I know that if I'm playing on a private table brought in from one of the private casino hosts, and they're bringing in a group from the Northeast, I know there's going to be some bets I'm not even used to. I don't even know what the hell they're doing sometimes. I mean, they've got hot bets and this and that, all this stuff going, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? You know? All right, so, but I know I was in Black Hawk, Colorado, and I was at $180 on the 6 or 8. I don't remember which one, and I had just collected $210. I hit it. And I looked at her. I said, "Same bet." She paid me. A few rows later, whatever, I hit it again, and she said, "The people here." I guess she thought I wasn't from around there. Maybe she recognized my accent wasn't from Colorado or something. But she said, "People here in Colorado go from 210. They'll go to 300, or 180 to 300, or something like that." I said, "Well, where I come from, we drop you $30, and we say take me to 420." And I dropped her $30. She looked at me like, "Okay, we got a player." But because she knew that was the same as a $42 bet, plus a zero. But yeah, you're going to run into that. And Vegas, I don't know how they keep up with it, because they got people from all over the world coming in there
Yeah.
trying to play. And hats off to those people that can put up with those idiots, because I'd be bitch slapping some of them, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got that, but you gotta be mindful. You gotta be mindful of these people because they'll slow down the game. You gotta be mindful of the drunks. You gotta be mindful of the people that want to come in and play that don't, and they're either local or they just want to make sure they get their $10, and they don't care if you have $1,200, $2,000, $4,000 on the table. They are going to make their $10 regardless of what, and they want you to 7 out so that they can make their $10. People, they're jerks, but people. Somebody says, well, they're playing their game. I don't know about that, but when they're hooping and hollering and say, "Come on, seven, roll a seven, let's see that beautiful seven," and you have like $2,000 on the line, yeah, you want to
That's
go
when you
over there,
turn your bets off.
the
That's when
beautiful
you turn
five,
your bets off.
and then the two comes in right after that. Um, but sometimes you got to be mindful of these people, and then you have to make a decision. You're free to take up your chips and walk away. That's the beauty about this game. You can buy in. You have to wait until the puck is off to buy in, but you can take your chips and walk away anytime.
And sometimes we encourage people to do that, don't we, Jeff?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Ed, do you have
Well,
anything else on mindfulness before we get to? I know what you're saying, Ed. Before we get to the questions, we do have several questions lined up, and I know a couple of you guys are
Well,
repeating your questions. I have the questions, so we're going to try to get to all of them before the session's over with.
I, I think G did a really good job, so I don't have anything to disagree at all. I mean, all the things he talked about is absolutely spot on. Um, he calls it play money. I call it my trip money. Um, for example, he's talking about, well, I might go play a little bit. Well, I'm going to play more in a little bit, I admit it. But I take a separate buy-in and put it in my money clip with my players cards. And whatever that number is, I've already got my envelopes. I've got a certain amount I want to have in each envelope per day. And then I put that in, that's already packed away before I leave the house. And then I've already put in a certain amount of money that I'm willing to bet on travel day. We're not supposed to play on travel day, but we all do. So I limit myself. Here's $700. Here's $1,000. Whatever it is, it goes in that money clip with my stuff, and that's all I'm going to play with on travel day. Now, I'd like to make money on it, but if I lose it, I know that's my travel day money. And if I win something with it, well, I don't have to take money out of tomorrow's envelope, right? So that's kind of the way I use that. That's part of that mindfulness or that preparation. See, I thought we were going to I thought mindfulness, we were going to get all into that, what I call the shooter's mentality, of where, we're focusing our mind on what we're exactly doing and trying to get. I'm an attacker. I'm like I'm the Ben Shapiro of rap music right now, man. I am focusing in on what I'm going to throw.
Yeah,
Nobody laughs,
that's
so let me
coming. That's
continue.
coming up. That was
I
going to
hadn't
be
seen
towards
any
the
of those
end.
videos yet, but I think that's hilarious. Anyway, so uh, you know, I have this mentality that I'm going to beat that table. Now, do I beat that table? No, but my mental state is I'm going to beat that table, and if I can't beat that table, I'm out of there. I don't hang around. You don't chase losses. I'm happy breaking even. If I've been down, I'm happy with a small loss, and I'll walk away. I've walked away with many a small losses just because something was going on. I didn't like it. Either it was me or it was something else going on around the table or just the chitter chatter or whatever was going on. There's things that disrupt the flow of the game I don't like, and I'll walk away with a small loss rather than making a bigger one. That's part of the mindfulness, I suspect. I know you got a lot of questions. So let's move on.
All right.
Yeah, no, real quick, I was going to say that the mindset of me shooting, the mindfulness of me shooting, I was going to save that towards the end. Whenever it's the right time to talk about it. But yeah, on like how what I'm doing and whether I need to walk away or do something different. You're right. You're right, Ed.
All right. Let's move on to some questions. This question comes almost 40 minutes ago from Will Norton. Don't know if he's still here or not. How do you feel about shooters that roll 5 times, I believe it says 5 dice, but 5 dice repeatedly before picking the two up? So, somebody that's probably spooling or schooling the dice.
Schooling the dice.
Yeah.
Schooling the dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just jerking off.
There's the answer of the day.
Jerking off. Jerk off, jerking off.
Nothing. Look. There's nothing. If there's something wrong with the dice, if the dice like were bad dice or they've been played around with, going like this is not going to be able to help you because there's very little air surface between the dice and the table. You're just it may be their routine. It may be their routine, but sometimes when I see that,
It is
I
so
just want to
ingrained into so many
pick
people
two.
that
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
believe
Ed. Go
it
ahead.
is a normal routine, and they don't even know what they're doing sometimes. But it doesn't
Yeah.
make them any smarter or any better. It makes them just look stupid, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
All right. A question about a half hour ago from Brian from HCS, Hawaii Crap Shooters. Do you prefer tossing the bigger or smaller casino dice, and why? Either one of you?
I
I'll start.
I like the bigger
Go
dice
ahead.
because I have smaller fingers. So
Say that.
I
Say
can
that
grip them.
again, G.
I like the bigger dice because I have smaller fingers and because they sweat and I'm very limited of how I can grip. I have to go skinny on the top. With the bigger dice, I can pick them up a little bit better than the smaller ones. So if the bigger dice, the better for me.
Okay. This question's for G. I got to scroll back a little while see if Brian still had it here.
Can I
I
answer
know.
that question first?
Oh yeah,
Can
sure.
I
I'm
make
sorry,
a?
Ed.
Can I answer?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
mean, I am sitting here like a knot on a log, so let me say something. Uh, you know, so all right. Casinos seem to me to go through phases, and I see it at different corporate entities. All of a sudden they're all, this one's always playing with small dice. Sometimes you'll see one table with big dice, one table with small dice in the same casino. Different lots that they ordered. I don't know, whatever's happening. Sometimes, you'll see them go through this routine. They're all big, and all of a sudden they're all small. So one of the routines I go through in preparation, this goes way back into our discussion, but one of the things I do in preparation is I know which sets are my favorites and what I expect from those sets. So here at home, before I leave, the night before, nothing, no long sessions, nothing like that. But I will take the big dice. I will take and throw, a couple of, maybe 36 rolls, something like that. I'll mark them all. I'll mark them all on. Y'all see me mark them with chips, mark my numbers. I'll slide them to the back of the box. Then I'll get the other size dice, and I'll throw the same number of tosses. Then I will compare. Did I get basically the same results that I got with the previous set of dice? One small, one large, or one large, one small. That's just kind of a process I go through so that when I go to the casino, when I touch those dice, I can immediately tell, are these the large ones or the big, are these the 0.75s or the 0.775s? That's the way I play it. I mean, that's kind of the way I go into it. So I don't care as long as I am aware when I get there and I touch it and I feel it and go, okay, that's the small dice. Here's what I expect. Then do I get what I expect is the question. If I don't get what I expect, am I getting, is it just simply I'm getting fives instead of nines? I'm okay with that. I can recognize that pretty quick. I can pull off on nine and go to a five real quick without a problem.
All right. Staying on that same topic, and it's a question that just came in, Ed. Do you examine the dice before you pick two of them up and look what you're looking for? So typically, when they ship me the dice,
What I do, I'm almost psychotic about it. I mean, I don't know, I'm stupid. Maybe I'm sitting there going, do I want to throw a 2V or a 3V? And I have certain 3Vs I like, and I've got certain 2Vs I like. And when they pour them dice out and they push them to me, and I see my perfect 2V set sitting there, those are the two I grab. Or the perfect three. I don't care. I could care less. If one goes off the table, if I don't need to take a break, I just tell the stick man, give me one. I don't even care.
Right.
Yeah,
I've
said that before. Yeah, I've said that before. I make sure they got the same serial number, and I check to see if they're the right size. Um, I don't change dice sets. You know that. That's one thing you and I agree to disagree on, Ed. I think it's just takes. When I'm shooting, I'm trying to concentrate on whether my toss is working, whether I'm hitting my landing zone, and if I on the come out, if I just throw a seven, I've said that before. I have maybe 12 to 15 seconds, depending on how fast they can reset the ATS and bring the dice back to me to see if I need to change set, toss, or not shoot at this table. Um, so you got to practice all that. That all comes to the mindfulness of when you start shooting. But when they pass the dice, the first thing I do is I flip at least the two that I picked and make sure 448, 449. Nope. Hey, got something wrong here with the dice. Two serial numbers. Something's wrong.
All right.
I remember this a little bit off topic, but I can remember playing at tables right after COVID, and there was a certain corporate casino that only put out 3 dice instead of 5 dice. So
they had five, but they had five.
Yeah. Yeah, but they would only put 3 in the bowl. They would only put 3 in the bowl. And so it was kind of odd. You just knew that at some point you were going to have mismatched serial number dice out on the table. There was no way around it because they were only putting 3 in the bowl. They were holding 2 back. I don't know if they were short on stock. I'm assuming that was the reason.
No, they would clean the dice because so after a person finished rolling, they would take the dice, put them on the side, and then hand the clean dice to another shooter while they.
Yeah, they always had two. I remember that they had 2 sets of dice. They'd have one color sitting over there by the box, and then be playing with one color, and then as soon as that shooter was over, they'd switch and they'd spray them down with that goo. Yeah.
Yep.
It was kind of a weird time.
Yeah, it was for cleaning. It was for cleaning. They would just clean the whole set, and you mentioned just watching. Sometimes when I'm walking through the casinos in the morning, or during the day the day before. The best thing that can happen is if a dice fall off the table. I mean, I push people out of the way to grab it because I want to feel it. I want to see, is that sharp dice? Is that dull dice?
I want
If
sharp.
if it's dull dice, then by the morning they're going to have sharp dice because they're going to change it out. If it's sharp dice, they may keep it for like the longer shift, so it may be dull by the second day. I love sharp dice. Some people don't because they think it catches. The sharper it is, the better I think it is for my toss.
All right, let's move on to the next question. This comes quite some time ago. It's for G, because I know what Ed's answer would be. But G, I know your answer. But I'll let you answer it. Even though you're shooting for a long roll, do you ever shoot from the DP as insurance? I know your answer, G, but explain the reason why.
Nope. Mainly because I don't play. I don't play strategies, hedging, or anything. I have my routine play. I think they may not mean it, but anybody playing the don't is, to me personally, they're looking for a seven. They may not be. They may be hedging. They call it hedging, but it doesn't matter. If I see somebody playing the don't, they're looking for a seven. That brings the table mood positivity down. Um, Also, if I'm throwing the dice and somebody loses money on the don't, I feel bad because I want everybody to win at the table. So I usually walk away unless I'm with a group of friends and there's somebody that we don't know that comes in to play, and that's when they usually tell me just ignore it, just don't even look at it. And I'm like, it's right there. Those two chips are like fucking there, right there. I ignore it. This where I'm landing my dice. There's no ignoring it. They're right there, and then just ignore it.
All
So,
right, Ed,
but anyway,
What was the question?
about the do you ever shoot from the DP from
I
holy
have
roll or
never
dry?
shot. I have never shot the dice on a don't pass in my life
Okay.
ever, and never will.
All right.
Doesn't mean I hadn't laid the back wall. Doesn't mean that. Just means I've
Right.
never laid a dice. The question was a don't pass. I have never shot the dice on myself with a don't bet ever in my life. I'm
Okay.
64 years old, and that'll be the way until I'm 164.
well, according to
Well,
Garrison, you're going to die poor.
Garrison
all
kissed
right.
my ass, not to the
Let's
left,
let's
not
let's
to the right
let's
in
let's
the group.
let's keep it moving. Here's a question from ABC Dice. What are your thoughts on working as a corporation team with bets on a craps table?
Good
Don't
question.
do it.
Good question. So basically, the question is, you have multiple people on the table. Some people shoot dice with minimum bets out there, and let the other ones that don't shoot um, make the big bets. Um, I think it's okay. My in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think that every person should be able to uh, deal with their own betting and their own money management, regardless of whether it's a group or not. People should know each other and what they can do. If they bet the same amounts and they do the same betting routine, then you know things will work out. Me personally, if we pool our money, and I know that before we get on the craps table, people may say, regardless what happened, we're all okay. Even if UPSO, there's nothing wrong. I would feel really bad if I PSO and somebody had 1,200 across or 1280 or something like that, and this is our pooled money. I would feel bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not my piece of cake.
All right. Question, Dan DVD. Has anyone ever experienced a rail hawk trying to steal chips? I have. I've actually had my chips stolen, but you guys?
It,
Yeah.
it's
If it
something you
happened,
need
I
to be
don't know
very,
about it.
very aware of.
Say that again,
you
Ed.
need to be aware. You need to be aware of it that it can happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever had any, but I am very watchful and I organize my chips in a way. And unless the stick man is going to steal my chips are usually pushed all the way flush against his rail. But even then, I've got low denominations with high denominations in the center. And usually my hand is real close. If I've got them pushed all the way to the rail against the stick man, my left hand's not far away from the left side of those chips. So it's a precautionary thing that I do because I know that a lot of people get chips stolen at times.
All right, G, I see you loading up some chips real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
Go ahead and show us
So
what you're going to show us.
yeah. So with me, I usually, if I'm shooting from other places, I follow the rule of the casino. Smaller denomination on the edges, bigger denomination in the middle. So you have your ones and fives on the sides, and then 10, 25s, hundreds, and whatever in the middle. But usually, if I buy in for 3,000 or 5,000, I have my hand always this way, and my hand hardly leaves this, so I know nobody's going to come this way. So they're going to have to come in that way. And if they come in that way, usually my large denomination is towards me, and my um, my small denomination, I had it right the first time, is towards them. But because of the way I stand, it's either like this or like that. Somebody's gonna really, I mean, if they come this way, they're gonna immediately be right there where the stick man is, and if somebody's standing, that's one of the reasons why they tell people don't stand behind the stick man, not because they're going to poke him with the stick, but also because they're protecting this side and that side. God Complex can talk a little bit more about that. If somebody is behind here, trust me, if there's plenty of high value chips on the rail, the pit boss and even the dealer is paying attention to what somebody is standing there going like this, looking like that. Um, I'm aware of it. It haven't happened to me, but I am aware of it, and usually these people get caught before they leave the casino. I mean, cameras will catch anything.
Yeah, he just answered that question and said that they actually, as a casino worker, they watch for the real birds. All right,
Yes.
Of course
let's
they do.
let's move on to the next question. This comes from Shooter Craps. What do you think? Let me read this from this way. What do you think when they told you that you can't set the dice in the middle of a hand? I think you mentioned that earlier, G, about a half hour
That
ago.
was me.
That was
That was
you.
me.
Yeah.
So if I'm somewhere and they tell me, in the middle of a hand that I can't set the dice anymore, I'll tell them to take my bets down, and a lot of times they turn them off, and I will have to re-explain that I didn't say turn them off. I said take them down. I want them given to me. I want to take all my bets, and then I take my everything that I can, my odds. Some of the stuff that the only thing that you can't take is your ATS bonus and your fast line bet.
Yeah,
And I take
contract bets.
everything. I say, okay, pass me the dice. Just make sure the bad number is not showing up on top. Is that okay? And I'll just ask them. I don't try to argue on why, because it's a um, it's a moot point to argue. Why can't I set the dice? Where's the law? Show me the rule. They're trying to get you to kind of they're throwing you off your zone because they want you to start asking questions. Well, show me the rule book. Some people will sit there and argue. By the time you finish arguing and they say, you know what, go ahead and set the dice. That's it. Your next roll is going to be a 7 because you sat there and argued with them for 10 minutes. They're you are a guest in their house, and I know that they're wrong. I know 100% that if I say show me the rule book, show me the craps playbook for the casino, they don't have one, number two. Even if they did, there's no sign that says you can't set the dice. But I don't argue. I say, okay, just have one favor. Don't pass me the dice with the wrong number. And then I just get into a rhythm rolling routine.
All right, Ed,
And
you
I
said it
do
was you
what
that
I
mentioned
want.
it. So go ahead, Ed, with what you with.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an old story. A lot of people, I apologize, y'all have heard me tell this before, but It was in Bally's there on the strip now, the Horseshoe, and there was this particular Indian, I believe, whatever descent gentleman that decided that I was playing the fire bet and the ATS, and my goal, I was really really working hard to get a good fire bet run going all that trip. I remember that was like my main focus. You talk about mindfulness. I was mindful of trying to hit a dadgum fire bet. And I had hit two in rapid fire succession. And then I had set a point of four. And I was playing with a very small group of guys, probably three more guys besides myself, maybe four at the max. Wasn't very large. But when I threw the dice, I hit a point of four, and one of the guys on the other end went, nice, nice shot. As soon as he said that, the pit walked over and said, sir, you can no longer set the dice. Well, this was right after COVID. We all had masks on. We're all talking like that. I'm like, I'm sorry I didn't hear you. I wanted to make it known to my other players that were with me that I was suddenly getting unexpected heat where we had not gotten any before. And so I made him re-explain. I kept saying, I can't hear you. The music's so loud. I kept doing stupid stuff like, I can't hear you. You can't set the dice anymore, sir. And I said, okay. And so I did exactly, I wanted to put an exclamation point on it. So I went to the dealer directly across from me and I said, I'd like to take my bets down, please. And she said, I'll just turn them off. And I said, no, that's not what I asked. I asked for you to go ahead and bring my bets down, please. I'd like to put them in my rack because I'm going to be leaving shortly. And that was, that was enough to make sure everybody else who was being mindful of what was going on at the table, that there was an issue. Now, the point was four. And I got my bets down off the table. I picked my odds up, right? Got 15 or $20, 25, I can't remember what it was. Got my pass line bet still down there. I've still got a fire bet going. They rolled the dice to me, and I picked them up and I threw them over my shoulder into the bowl and hit a hard four, which was the point. And they rolled them back to me again. I left my pass line down there, and I rolled two or three sevens before I set a point and sevened out, throwing them over my shoulder. And then as soon as that was done, we were all gone. I mean, that's what you. I wasn't making fun of them, but I wasn't setting the dice anymore. I was just throwing them blindly over my shoulder for him.
All right.
So,
Is it, well, I got.
real quick, Jeff, real quick. There's a right way and a wrong way to deal with any situation
Mine wasn't the best way.
like these. Um, the right way to do it, you remember you're a guest in their house and they're making the rules. The right way to do it is just go ahead and take your bets off, do what I just said. And if you really want to make them feel bad at the end, when once you seven out, don't engage the pit boss directly because you don't want to ruin it for other players on the table. You can just go by the side, and this is what I do. Now you don't have to do that. You can go argue, fight, and do whatever. You know, you don't have to be a follower. You can be a leader. Do whatever you want. But what I do is after the fact, I go over there and I say, "Sir, help me understand what I did wrong." So that the next time the dice comes to me, I do it the right way. Did I do something wrong? Sometimes the look on their face of, oh my god, of the shame, or they're sometimes they'll tell you, you were killing it and we had to do something. I've had a pit boss tell me you were killing it and I got a call from upstairs that to tell you not to set the dice, you weren't doing anything wrong. And I'll say thank you for your honesty. Sometimes I will tell them, just help me understand what I did wrong, because I would like to play here. Help me understand what I did wrong so that I won't do it again, and get a warning, or and they'll just look at me. They there's nothing they can tell me. They know I know what's going on, but they can't tell me anything. But that usually will humble them, and sometimes they just say, you know what, just don't worry about it. I'll deal with it. Just do your play. Next time the dice comes to you, set it and roll. I don't care.
All right. This question is for Ed. I think it's probably a one-answer question for you. It comes from Stent Placer. It says he's been playing at the Hard Rock in Tampa India Casino. Playing experience is not like Biloxi, so he's booked for Biloxi next month. I think his question is, do they have $10 tables in the morning at the Hard Rock?
I have not been to the Hard Rock since last fall, so I don't have an honest answer. My understanding is they've either got 10 or 15 in the middle of the week.
Okay.
That's my
Middle of the
understanding.
week, middle of the week maybe.
Ask
Yeah,
Phil.
middle of
Phil's
the week
there right
maybe.
now. Phil can tell you.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody's over there right now.
Yep. All right. Let's move on. Ida asked the question: would you like to get the dice from the stick man as they come, or you don't mind? I think he's talking about as they push them to you. Do you take the dice as they are? I can actually have a good dealer will actually set them, knowing that you've thrown the dice the last 4 or 5 times the same way. A good stick man will actually push them to you almost that way.
Yeah,
They'll
no,
watch you.
no, yeah. I tell them send them. Sometimes I want to set the dice, set the all seven and toss off access, but I don't want that stick man to send them to me. Um, with all the seven showing. Sometimes they look at me and say, "Is that how you want it?" I'm like, "No, just send them regular," because I want to set them. The reason why I want to set them is because of my mechanical routine that I go through that I showed the last session. There's something I do when I'm setting. I want to set the dice, even if they pass them to me the same way. I usually take them, go like this, just break them apart, and then I set them.
All right.
I'm sorry, Ed. I know you were trying
That's
to
all
say
right.
something.
No, setting is part of our, for any shooter, setting is part of the routine, and we've all got a routine, whatever it
Yep.
is. I mean, I've seen some weird ones. I've seen some. Mine's relatively simple. A little bit slow sometimes. I've been told. I don't know, but we've all got a routine, and I want to set my dice. I don't care how you push them to me. They're never going to push them to you with a seven. They're probably going to push them to you with a point up. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going to still set them because I know what I want to toss.
All right, and Phil answered that question, by the way. Ed, he did say yes to $10, $10 at Hard Rock
Thank
and
you,
five
Phil,
bucks
for
at the
answering that
Treasure
question.
Bag. I like what El Toro
Now,
just said. What you guys were just talking about. He said, "I laugh at the question when I laugh and question them when they ask about you can't set the dice anymore." I suppose is what he's talking about. You don't believe in dice influence, do you? He actually asked that question. I think that's a good one.
that's a good way to ask them, but if you're by yourself, you can play one way with that question, with that when that happens, or you can, for me, I had a group of people, and I had been running pretty good all week, and I just wanted to make sure they knew they needed to pull their money down. So I didn't make a scene, but I kind of drug it out a long time and made sure everybody knows something was going on.
All
That
right.
was my main concern.
Next question here, and I've got a couple answers in the chat from this. Comes from Jason. He knows your answer, Ed, but he wants to ask G. What are your thoughts on the 5 count on random players or people you don't know? What betting strategies do you use on them? And then he said he already knows Ed's answer. So G, 5 count.
Now, and we joke about it, but I don't believe in the 2 count, 3 count, 4 count, 5 count. And as far as again, I don't like to call them randies or random, but um, Heavy told me a long time ago. I always bet the 6 and 8 on anyone. They may surprise you, but the 5 count doesn't tell you anything. Anybody can PSO at any given time, and anybody can have a hot roll at any given time.
All right. Ed, he said he knew your answer, so I know what you
Stupid,
think about the
stupid,
5 count.
stupid, stupid.
I knew that was going to come. All right,
I
guys.
mean, I
As
mean,
we
if we're playing the short game, right? So the seven can come out anywhere between 1 to 6 rolls, right? And if you wait 5 rolls, then you're only going to bet for 1 or 2 rolls, and then
All right.
that's it.
Yeah. That that philosophy came out of Scobletti and the other group that
Yeah,
I'm not going to really get into, but that's where that came from.
yeah,
Well, if they had half a freaking brain, if that was their concern, if they're so absolutely concerned about a seven showing during the first 5 rolls, right? Because what they want to do is they want to place a come bet on the sixth row. They're trying to play that magical six count math where I place a come bet, and if they roll a seven. So my question is, if you're that concerned about a seven showing in the first five rows, why aren't you already playing the dice or playing the don'ts against the shooter during that first five rows? I mean, why would you wait? If that's your real concern, you're trying to play quote unquote math or whatever. I mean, it's stupid to wait. I mean, I've got a friend I play with. He occasionally he wants to see two box numbers before he bets. That's his thing, right? And it kind of makes sense. He doesn't count a horn number at all. If they throw a six, two horn numbers, and then an eight, he's not still not betting until he sees the second box number, right? So I mean that's a way to avoid it, and I get it. That's his thing, but to not bet for five, you might as well not bet for 20.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and give out last call for any questions for Ed or G tonight, or any general craps question as we come to the end of this episode 3, which is mindfulness, and we've talked about it. If you're just now getting to the show, we've been streaming now for an hour and a half, and we have about 104. It's 109 people currently watching. So ask the questions now, and we'll get to them. G, there's a question which is probably a one-answer word for you from my good friend Lou from New Jersey. Wants to know, did his chip make it in the mail? Arrive in the mail?
Yes,
He's gonna go
sir.
get it.
It's right here. It's right here. I love Dakota armor. I
Yep.
love that Dakota armor, man.
Yep.
Beautiful chip. Yes, sir. Thank you for sending it.
All right. We got a good question here. Just came in from Tom. I'm glad you're here, Tom. And I will say, if you guys are in the chat, say hello to us so we know that you're there. If you have a question, there's no such thing as a dumb question. You might not like the answer you get, but we'll definitely try to answer it. Tom asks, do casinos ID dice influence shooters?
You
Um,
need to ask him how complex that. He works for one.
What's
do
that, Ed?
they do they do DI shooters have a certain ID that they carry?
No,
I mean,
do they want to identify the DI shooter like by name and maybe put a
It's in
note
the
in the
computer.
computer or
If they
something?
do, it's in the computer system, and you'll never know.
everybody's in their system. I don't care if you're a DI, a DB, a DT, a BS, a BA. Yes, those are acronyms. I'll tell you about what they mean later. But everybody is in their system. Even if you don't give them your driver's license, they got cameras. They know who you are and they know where you played. People are in their systems with comments. The God complex can probably tell you more about this, um, but yeah, but there's no such thing as a DI, by the way. So I don't know why they would ID them.
There you have it.
I've seen some old. This is ancient stuff, but I've seen some old pictures of the old screens that they used to use on shooters, and they have their notes. Make sure this guy hits the back wall, blah blah blah. I mean, whatever they're going to put certain things in there, whatever they're going to put about you. This might be an advantage player on dice watching closely. It might be. I mean, they're going to do it in blackjack. I mean, my God, everybody knows about the dice counters, advantage players, and blackjack. And I haven't ever seen any craps players taken to the back room, as they call it, but you'll see some advantage players, blackjack guys and gals go to the back room, and they don't get out for a long time, and
Yep.
they'll try to steal your freaking money if you're a blackjack player.
Well, let's move on to the
Yeah,
question.
Scarlet Di, we wear a little patch.
Okay, yeah, that's what I like. I'll put that back up there. Probably G didn't see that, but El Toro says make sure you wear your Scarlet DI on your arm. Here's a question from Ron at California Craps Club, and God Complex has already answered it, but I know you two have different opinions about this. It comes from my side of the channel. It comes from Ron. He says, how do you feel about working to come out? And before you answer it, God Complex says never work to come out. So who wants to take that first about working to come out?
Alfredo, where's my buddy Alfredo? Don't work the come out. I said, don't work the come out. The come out roll is a freebie. it lets you test stuff. It lets you see what your dice is doing. If you're trying to hit the ATS, don't change your set in the middle of the roll. But if you hit your point and you have a come out, what do I need? I need a three. Well, let me see. Worst thing can happen is you get a seven, you get paid, and you reset the ATS. It's a freebie. It's a freebie. Use it as a freebie, but don't work it.
It's the only mulligan you get.
Yes, it is. Let's see. I got
But
another.
I'm going to say but. As a DI, a
But
lot of times we play the game within a game. We shoot for horn numbers up front, that kind of thing. So we try. Yeah, that's a one way to read your dice. I mean, if you're throwing a certain set for horns or sevens and you're not hitting either one, you know you're getting an off axis or a double pitch on this or that. I mean, you can tell. If you're throwing a 6-2 6-2 and you're throwing hard forward on the come out, maybe you got a little influence on the front faces. So there's a lot of things we're looking for when we come out. I don't work the come out per se. I have worked six and eights. I have laid the back wall. I have done a whirl bet and laid the 5 and 9. Those are just different little strategies I use on the come out. But the come out's your only mulligan, so you're looking to see what your dice are doing, especially when you're new to the table.
All right. Let's go down to the next question here. Comes from Mike Jacobs. So, have you ever been told that you have to bet on a shooter ahead of you or they'll skip you? Typically, in my area, it's a must. You have to have a bet before you actually get the dice the
yes,
next your next shooter. I think it's pretty standard in the community. I mean, in the casinos itself. Is that correct? You guys agree with that?
yeah, yeah. But for the most part, I'm the only shooter at the table. But if I'm playing right at night or something like that, um, yeah, I've seen tables in Biloxi or casinos in Biloxi where they've told others that if you want to shoot the dice, you need to put a fast line bet.
All right. Here's a question from Joe Ramus. I do not throw the dice when I play one of three different systems, and the one casino said I cannot play that anymore unless I have a pass line or DP bet. Why, I do not know. I suppose you're not throwing the dice. Go ahead, Ed. It looks like you're either contemplating, thinking about it, or you have an answer.
Put it back up because I'm trying to figure out. It says I do
Yeah.
not throw the dice when I play one of the three different systems and the one casino, and
And the one
he
casino.
doesn't throw the dice when he plays one of three different systems. One casino said he could not play that, I guess, system anymore unless he had a pass line or don't pass. I it's their house, their rules. I don't know why they would say that. I mean, if you're not
I
if
don't
you
know.
don't have the
Yeah,
dice in your hand, you're not required anywhere I know of to have a pass or don't pass line,
That's what I
and
would think.
unless you're playing the ATS. Many casinos will require a don't pass or a pass line to
Yeah.
play the ATS.
And that's, I mean, I understand that part on the ATS part. And on the East Coast here, if you're playing the ATS, almost 9 out of 10 casinos say you have to have a pass line bet. Fire bet is 50-50. You know, sometimes you have to have a pass line bet to play the fire bet, but for the most part, they don't require that on the fire bet. I don't know. Guys, if you're asking questions, please put a capital Q. William wants to know, Ed, what's the brown water tonight?
Rebel 100.
Again from Friday night? What were you drinking Friday night?
Yeah, same juice. Same juice. But I just finished the first glass. I mean, that's it. I'm done. It's a work night.
Yeah.
Tall glass.
Well, here's God Complex saying you need action to play to allow a horn bet, for example, but if you know you will make a bet after the come out, they'll allow it. So, yeah, I've seen that before. I mean, there was this one
Yeah, there
casino.
was.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's one casino on the East Coast that knows that I'm going to come out with 110, 160 across or whatever, and I forgot to put the pass line bet, but I gave them the ATS. They understand I'm going to play the
Yeah.
bet.
It's like, for example, in Mississippi, there's a couple examples I can think of. Beau Rivage will allow you to go ahead and place the ATS bet without a pass line or don't pass, but they expect you to make bets immediately following. All right. And then there was another casino up in Tunica. I haven't played there in quite a while, Sam's Town. They used to. This was right after COVID and that kind of thing. Where everybody had high minimum bets, they required you to have a $25 minimum in action, not including the ATS. So you didn't have to have a pass
Wow.
line, you didn't have to have, but you had to have $25 in action on the table. So that was a little bit different rule, but that was their rule, and they may still be doing that for all I know. I kind of have left visiting that place.
All right. Guys, we got to still have 100 people watching between the two channels on Mid Atlantic Craps and stream it over on Roll to Win Craps. Get your questions in now. We're going to be coming to the end of the show. We're going to be talking about our next date, and we're not sure because G and I and Ed have different rotations 2 weeks from now. So I think the date that we're looking at, the potentially now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is February 27th, which would be actually 3 weeks from today. G, you're going to be in Biloxi the week of the 20th through the 23rd or 4th. Ed's possibly the same thing. I have rotations of something coming up the next 2 weeks as well. So as we're waiting to see if we have any more questions, is the 27th seem like that's the date we're going to go? And hopefully Chris will be on the show at that time, Sideshow Gamble.
We certainly hope that'll be a good date. And I know we've got to nail that down with Sideshow for sure, but when I spoke to him the other day, I told him it was going to be 2 or 3 weeks out.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking at.
All right. So just in case you're asking, we're looking at the 27th of February, which is a Tuesday night, and we're going to backtrack just a second, talking about the back room. El Toro says that I've been taken to the back room and it's not fun. And then Jason wanted to know with El Toro, what did they tell him? And then El Toro said lots of crazy things and he refused to cash me out. Had to call the gaming commission to protect my rights to get paid. That's a very interesting story.
If that ever happens to anyone, now if you're in a tribal casino, you might be shit out of luck. But if you're in a normal place, if they refuse to pay you out, you immediately call the gaming commission and ask them to come investigate, and you do not surrender your chips beyond the cage window, and you do not leave without cash. Period.
All right.
Period.
Okay.
The gaming commission is there to quote unquote protect the player, and they will come up with a lot of reasons why they don't want to pay you. But in the bottom line is, in the state laws, it is. I forget the word. Damn it! I just watched this. I just studied on this last night. As a matter of fact, basically, it's a promise to pay. If you give them cash and they give you chips, they have an obligation to give you cash for the chips, and you cannot surrender without getting your cash. If they refuse to pay you, they will be sued and they will lose a lot more. And plus, the gaming commission guy is going to come in there and say, well, you can pay them. If you got a good lawyer, go ahead and call your lawyer while you're there as well. But,
all right.
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, they're going to threaten not to pay. They're going to threaten not to pay you if they've got something charged against you. And even a police officer, they may even bring a police officer in there. Right? They can bring a police officer in there, and the police officer is going to go based on what the casino has told them. And then you've got to respectfully let that that police officer know that this is what the casino has done. This is what I have done, and I have called the gaming commission, which has seniority over or oversight over this type of situation. And we're waiting on their investigator, and I'll be having breakfast at 6, please.
All right. G, you had a comment?
Jeff, it all comes down to the mindfulness aspect of don't give him any excuses to do anything. Don't arguing and saying no and saying, hey, I want too much money, or whatever it is, what is that caused them to go take you to the back room. All that could be avoided. There's a time and place for everything. And the last thing you want to do is give them more reason for keep to, not to pay you, or to take you to the side, or get the gaming commission. They may want to escalate, you de-escalate. It's maybe it's being around police officers for a long period of time, helping training them and stuff like that. You tend to want to de-escalate the situation. The more they want, somebody wants to escalate, you de-escalate. That way, after the fact, you can come in and talk about it. Once you have your money, you have everything else, you can come in and talk about it and just be nice and stuff like that. That's just me. Some people want to fight and argue right there. You know, I've got to tell you, I've won lots and lots of money at the table, 30, 40, 50,000. Never been asked to go to the back room for anything.
All right.
So
Well, let's answer this question from Richard. Richard, we just did answer the question just before you put it up there, but we're hoping that on February 27th, Chris from Sideshow Gamble will be on the show, and that'll be his first night appearing. He told me, I think he told you the same thing, Ed, that he's not been throwing dice for quite some time. Although since he's been back, he did a couple shows on his table, but he just doesn't feel like he's lost his touch, and he's going to consider himself a new student when he comes in
Yeah,
on the show.
he has stopped. He has actually stopped practicing. He told me a couple of nights ago. So that, and this has been for several weeks, so that he will be really fresh and raw when we start working with it.
All right. As we come to the close, guys, once again, if you have a question, it's a capital Q. That way I'm not missing any. If I've missed your question, go back and re-ask it. This next question comes from your good friend on my channel, Ed. Yeah, you call him Mr. Spice himself. For Ed and Gargoyle, when betting is your normal progression, when I guess is betting your normal progression, do you full or power press your bets? Ed, you're up on the screen first.
All right, so I'm betting my normal progression. My normal progression includes a portion of some power press and some. I, I don't regress, but I wasn't in there, was it?
Here,
Power
I'll put it back up.
press or collect. I don't have regression built into my strategies, even though there will be times I will
Oh,
regress, especially on a number, maybe.
I
But
said I said regression. It says progression. Sorry, that was my mistake.
my normal progression that I've memorized, if all else fails, I know my normal progression, and it is a combination of pressing, collecting, and there's a few power presses thrown in at points. It depends on the number. A lot of people will go from 50, like just say we're throwing fours and tens. I will go 25, 50, 100. That's just a normal little 25, go to 50, put the quarter back in my rack. Next hit, go to 100, I put 50 in my rack. Next hit, if I'm at 100, I'm going to drop them another 50, two quarters, and say go to 250, and they're going to give me a black chip back or whatever. So that's that's a little push on the press. That's a half press, 250. And why am I doing that? I want a purple chip. I want a purple chip in my rack. I'll collect that purple chip. Next hit, man, I'm going balls for wall till I collect it, till I connect me a pumpkin or a canary chip. I want $1,000 chip. From there, I'm going straight to 2,500. 2,500, I'm going to collect and go to 5,000, and then I'll ask them if I can put bets if that's really going insane on the same number.
All right. Um, G, here's a question. Well, not G. There's a question from God Complex, which I was going to save to the end, but he wants me to put it up here because he just said it. I was going to save this question for the very end. How do you guys share this good stuff and players not write this stuff down? As far as who's watching the show and what notes they'll take in mental notes, or if they're writing it down. The good thing about this God Complex, it's on YouTube. You can always go back and watch it again. That's my answer. I don't know anything else, but I'll take that as a compliment for the show, and I really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
yeah, we I know God Complex likes to give me a hard time, but he does it because he likes me. But
What?
we
You
really
got
appreciate
friends?
that comment. We really appreciate
No,
that
it's a
comment.
great thing to have him
You should see
in
some
here.
of the mail I get now that people have my Gmail. Um,
Yeah,
but no, we
yeah.
appreciate that comment.
And now that you mentioned about the mail, we got a question from Mark Foster. Said, "Would you all please give us your emails?" They don't want mine; they want yours. Ed, you go first, and then I'll put the G on the screen.
Mine's rolltowwincraps@gmail.com.
It's
It's my
simple.
YouTube channel name.
All right, and G.
Original gargoyle, one word, at gmail.com.
And you spell gargoyle with a Gargoil, not with the Y in it.
Yep,
Yep.
just like you
All
see
right.
it.
Just like you see it. Let's see
No
here. We
hate
have
mail.
anything.
No hate mail, please. I have a whole bunch of it.
Welcome to the world of YouTube. I tell you, like I
I gotta
said,
I gotta mention this one. I mentioned it in the green room, but I gotta mention. I'm not gonna say who, but somebody sent me an email saying that if I'd spend more time and money on learning how to toss the dice than making my table look good, I probably would toss really well. I'm not making
He
this
might
up.
be right. He might be right.
You might be
I mean,
right. You never know.
he might be right.
Oh, well, we like our viewers. We've got quite a few still watching, guys. If you have a question, if we don't get any more questions, we're going to move on and come back on the 27th. But I like what Richard said. He watches the show 3 or 4 times a week after it aired. I think that's a faithful viewer. Richard, you get the thumbs up of the day. All right.
Yeah, Richard,
Uh,
that's okay. It takes me an hour and a half to watch 60 minutes, so that's fine.
I go back and watch it looking for mistakes that I make producing, or something that maybe we need to talk about on the next show, or something that we don't need to cover. Come back and talk about ever again. But we're getting a lot of kudos on the show, guys. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. You guys aren't going to believe this, but we're approaching the 2 hour mark. And we
Wow.
appreciate
Who
the
said
good
We're
that?
comments.
finishing early tonight. We're
Yep,
finishing
yep.
early tonight.
Yeah, it's an hour and 50 minutes, and we're really getting some good comments here. So, Gargoyle, anything you want to end up talking about tonight? Then we'll head over to Ed.
No, just be, again, be mindful of your surrounding, be mindful of what's going on the table, especially when you have money on the table. Look and see what's going on around you. If somebody's setting the dice and throwing, and all of a sudden they're off their game, they're throwing numbers that you haven't seen. Maybe they're off, maybe they're confused. Sometimes that may cause a seven. You may want to turn your bet off. um, just be aware. Things happen all the time at the table. Use what's happening as information and make a conscious decision on what you want to do next. um,
All
that's
right.
that's that's all I want to say.
Ed, any final thoughts?
How long have I got? Because I ain't got to talk all night.
Well, if you don't say it, I'm going to ask the question, but I'm going to see if you say it on the way out. If you don't, then I'll ask the question. But you have all the time in the world. We got 10 minutes before the 2 hour mark, but take as long as you want. This is YouTube.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So commercial time, I guess. Whatever.
Yes.
You probably knew I was going to do this, right? So
I
anyway,
was going to ask you.
the Patreon is up and live, and we're working on new things that kind of behind the scenes. All my videos that we're not doing live, all my private videos are going straight in to there. We're doing some bone tracker work right now. Fixed to put a second video up on bone tracker for those that have that interest. Not everybody does. Not everybody has time or a way to practice or log those. What else? Oh,
I'm waiting.
casinotears.com.
Spell it
Or
for him.
make the casino, TEARS.com. All right, so we launched. I launched a new podcast, brand new, on the platform. I know it was on Apple last night. I think it's on Spotify today. But if you go to casinotears.com, you can automatically just listen to it there, or subscribe on your favorite podcast experience. It's me and another guy who lives in Las Vegas most of the time. He's also got a place right outside of Beverly Hills. So it's me and this guy, and we're nothing alike. I mean, we're nothing alike, but we gel really good. We have a good time. We've recorded a lot. We're getting it edited in. We're trying to keep the podcast down to about 30 minutes. That's what our last one was, 33 minutes. Um, we've got a vent line that I know is live because I called it just before we went on air. It's 229 no 7. All right, so that's not only if you like what we say on our podcast, 229 no 7 will get you in there, and you can either bitch about me, or the handle for my co-host is 10 ton is number one. You can bitch about what we're saying, or you can come in and give us a trip report or talk about a complaint that you had at some casino somewhere. And if it's a good one, we're probably going to air it and we're going to react to it. And we're just having fun. This is serious. We've got a lot of guests lined up, guests that y'all don't know, guests that we haven't used before. They're I'm going to say non-YouTube guests. There's people that are coming in that we've never dealt with before, in a interview type of. This is going to be more conversational, of course. But hey, check us out. If you're driving, riding to work every morning, need something to listen to besides whatever, we got at least once a week, and it may be more than that. We've got about a 30 to 45 minute. That's our goal. 30 to 45 minutes on each podcast, and it's available at casinotears.com, or if you go to Apple Podcast, it's Casino Tears. It's running. Go check it out. We've even got Valentine's mugs out, available.
Yep.
You got somebody wants to buy you a Valentine mug.
And Ed, what's going on your Patreon channel?
On the Patreon channel, we've done a few videos, kind of like I've done in the past. I've done one pretty good deep dive into how Bone Tracker works. I've got another book that I'm going to bring back into there, and I'm going to do a video on that. And then Gargoyle and I are going to do some behind the scenes work, maybe live, maybe not. We will see how that works out. I'm not sure how that's going to work on the Patreon crowd. We don't quite have enough to really do the lives. We're around 40 or so on Patreon, but as we grow, we're going to try to do some lives and just question answers with the Patreon people. We're going to be working on some toss techniques pretty darn soon. He and I were talking about that today. He's going to come in. We're going to have some stuff that's available only on the Patreon. My big commercial for the night.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up for us, guys.
Jeff, I don't know when, but I promised that I was going to move the sign from over there to back here. So if you want to zoom in and show the folks the sign that I was talking about the other day.
Just give me 1 second. I got to switch my screens here, and let's do a little zoom in here. There you go. Welcome to Gargoyle's No Spin Zone Craps Pit. You did move the sign.
That's right.
Yes, you did. Yep.
That's how I toss the sign. I just very little spin on it.
Yep.
It's a no spin zone.
That top shelf with those casinos, especially with up there.
Oh,
yeah,
the Legos?
Those are those are Legos, folks. Who knew?
That's a Lego. That is the Lego of the Strip, and you can only get it in Vegas from the Lego store in Vegas.
G, hold on a second. There you go. Yeah, just stand it over a little bit, G. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So that was several years ago, but it was only available at the Lego store in Vegas. And of course, that's a souvenir. And I got a whole bunch of them, but this was pretty cool. I'm still waiting for something to go here, but if it doesn't get here soon, I'm gonna put something else. Like a lot of the cool chips that I'm getting, I'm gonna buy something unlike this, but something just for all the cool chips, and maybe put them up there. But a hat was supposed to come here. I don't know where it's at, but that's where a certain.
I gave him your address like yesterday. The green hat. I mean yellow hat.
So So everybody's hard work on YouTube before I came on and did all this. I won the from the cure 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 for
Crafts for the cure.
Yeah,
Crafts for the
crabs.
Cure. So
Yeah.
the hard hat's going to come up here, and Jeff's signature is going to be like right here. I want to make sure he looks at it every time.
I was the first winner, but I toot my own horn there. I appreciate that, that G. Guys, I want to switch over. If you don't mind, I want to take a couple seconds here. A lot of compliments that come out on this show today. I'm just a moderator. I'm producing the show. I'm sitting here in Maryland. G's in Georgia. Ed's in Alabama. And I'm putting the show together. And we get a lot of great comments. But I got an email from somebody that was not a subscriber of my channel. And had only picked this up on Ed's channel. And he sent me a rather lengthy email. And he's here tonight. He's in the chat. He's on your side, Ed. I don't know why when he sent me the email, but I won't hold that against him. But the email went on to read that he came over to my channel and he saw that my channel is an entertainment channel, and I'm going to tell you that, guys. If I'm an entertainment channel, I like to do these types of shows. You saw the show that I did with Same Bet Dave Carlin. We've got another guest coming up in a couple Monday nights that we're going to have just one-on-one style talking. Craps Chat is coming back. I just got to fit it into the schedule. But I want to thank that person that sent me that email that said, Jeff, I went over and saw your channel. It's not for me, but I like what else you're doing in the craps community with the interview shows and the Craps Chat. He didn't know about Craps Chat until I told him that. He went back and started watching some episodes of that. So, for the three of us to put this together as a teamwork, and next time, hopefully, Chris will be here. It'll be four of us. We'll have the student here, Sideshow Gamble. Some of you know. If you don't know, go out and subscribe and like his channel as well at Sideshow Gamble with Chris. And we keep getting comments, like this. I mean, Kevin says, great running the board. But it's teamwork here with G and Ed and me. And guys, I am the entertainer. I'm the moderator. I'm the interviewer. If you come over to my show during the daytime or the nighttime when we bring back the D8 Perpetual Table, I'm having fun rolling out dice. Going to have some guest shooters. Going to give away some good prizes, which begs the different here that Louise asked, when are y'all coming out with some merchandise, caps, shirts, coffee cups? Well, they're on both Ed's channel and my channel. I can't speak for G. There's merchandise there. But Louise, come over when I start my nighttime show, and you can win those things. You don't even have to buy them. I give stuff away on my show, and we'd really, I just want to say thank you.
Cheap.
Yep. I just want to say, yeah, they're not. But I do want to say thank you to the person and a couple other communications I've got about this show. I'm sitting in the background. I don't have nowhere near the knowledge. These guys here have forgotten more than I'll ever know about the game. And put this show together, I think, is just awesome to still have 100 people watching on both channels. And that's all I got to say about that. Any final words from either one of you?
Yes,
I wanna say thank you for my 7 subscribers on my YouTube channel that I didn't even know I had. So apparently I do have a YouTube channel. There's nothing on there, but I've already gotten 7 subscribers.
They're waiting. They're
Thank
lining
you,
up.
thank you, but
it's the original Gargoyle channel.
Yeah.
Toro said, yes, you do. If you're on YouTube, you do have a channel. And he showed me, and I looked, and all of a sudden, there's like 7 subscribers.
Yep, you do.
There's nothing on there. There's not going to be anything on there. I'm here to help educate, and this is an educational aspect of it, but we will have fun. I want one time. I want to, if it's not here, maybe with somebody else on another YouTube channel. But I'll do some off-access tosses and just BS and have fun. So there'll be entertainment. Heck, watching these on this bouncy table
We'll
should be
do that. We'll
entertainment.
do that on a show one Friday night. We'll just kind of like both goof around and do off action
Yep.
stuff all
Yeah.
night just to see
All
what
right.
happens.
But
So
thank you to my 7 subscribers.
I happen to be 6 of them, just so you know, G. Anyway, we'll leave. We'll
I
leave
do.
it
I
at
do want to echo. I do want to echo what some of the people said, Jeff. We could not do this quality of a show without you.
that. Oops. Sorry, wrong screen.
Yeah, and I'm glad you put yourself in the spotlight because you deserve to be in the spotlight there. Um, Jeff, you're a great friend. I appreciate your friendship very much, and
Likewise.
I appreciate what you do for me and for Gargoyle on this show. I mean, we if we did the show without you, it would be worse quality. We would still do the show, but it'd be really bad quality stuff. And you've got the stuff, you've got the wherewithal to bring it into a format that's appealing to the viewer, and that's important. And I know the people out there appreciate it, but I can definitely tell you I appreciate it because I could not do it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're gonna end the show here. I thank both of you guys for the friendship that we've made. And yes, there'll be no kissing, so you don't have to worry about that, Frank. Well, you don't have to worry about that. We're going to end the show with this. Jay-Z from Silver Fox Crash came in late to the show. He wanted to know what percentage of your throws would you consider random or lucky? And God Complex actually answered it while we were talking. He said, I will answer few or random. Every roll is lucky when it's not a 7. And we're going to leave it at that, guys. We'll be back on the 27th of February, hopefully with Chris from Sideshow Gamble. Ed's motto is practice like you play and play like you practice. I'm going to say God bless. Be safe. Play smart. We'll see you on the 27th.